These are some basic ideas in that first chapter on studying adult development and aging that would be important for you to remember beyond this particular unit. You will be using these ideas later as well. The lifespan perspective is the perspective of this whole textbook. It divides the human development in two phases: the early phase, which is a fast change type of phase through adolescence, from babyhood through adolescence, and the later phase, which is all the rest, which is slower changes. You will notice that you are in the later phase. You are done with the real fast one. You are probably not in adolescence anymore. You are in adulthood, so you are in that second phase of life where changes, though they still occur, though we continue to grow, though there are qualitative changes as well, things are going much slower. Development is multi-directional, is another important concept. Particularly in that second part of life, but actually also in that first part, development is never just only gain. There is always loss along with it as well. We gain in some things and we lose in other. You may gain in wisdom what you lose in energy. You may lose in number of nerve cell and gain in their organization. You may lose in reflexes and gain in voluntary action, and so on. Look at your own life. Look at, the things in which you have grown and the things which you have lost. Sometimes we gain in logic and lose in creativity, etc., etc. It would be interesting to look at yourself, your friends, your parents, your grandparents, and ask those kinds of questions. It is important to have a notion of the demographics of aging and what that does. For example, we have all heard about the aging of America represented in the graph on the right there. You can see that we have more older people and more very old people in the dark red there. And that means they will need more service, and we get worried about, they will need more medical care. We need to, in general, make society more accessible for everyone. But on the other hand, if you look at the labor force growth, you can see that the United States labor force under the age of 64 is still growing quite a bit, because of both our birth rate is not too bad and our immigration. Whereas in a number of other nations, the number of people in their labor force is decreasing because the rate of birth is quite low. And that will, of course, bring them economic problems. All of that will affect also aging. For example, we think that in general there are more older people in the world. That may be true, but in Africa, the expected lifespan of people is decreasing. In some countries of Africa, the expected lifespan is 25 years old because of HIV. So your textbook has a very interesting global quiz on page 11. Take it and then read the answers, and I guarantee you will be surprised by some of them. There are various forces that affect development. They are the biological, psychological, and sociocultural forces, and they affect us differently depending on what point you are at in your life. For example, if you are a child and losing a parent, it will affect you differently than if you were an adult. If you have an illness while you are old, it may affect you differently than if you had that same illness when you were young, etc., etc. You can think of some more examples of that sort. Another really important concept is that of normative influences, because they put an order in development. They help people of the same cohort develop along the same lines. They are in your cohort, in the people of your own age. They are events, social events, society events that strongly influenced all of you. For example, there could be 9/11 is an event that influenced all of you, and there are some others. Think about what those might be. What are the events that people your age remember that shaped them? They could be cultural events, they could be, social sorts of events, things that a large number of people share together, a whole generation shares together. It would be an interesting question to ask people the age of your parents and grandparents as well, or people of another country and culture, because those normative influences are culture bound as well as time bound. And another question to ask is, in your cohort, what are the expectations for age milestones? When are people expected to marry, have their first child, have economic independence? All of that changes. In my cohort, people were expected to marry by their early 20s, have their first child by 25 for sure, be economically independent at 18 or 19. This is different now. So how is it now, and how does this compare with what happened in earlier generation or in other cultures? There are also in one's development non-normative influences, which are important events for the individual, but not for everyone in their culture or cohort. For example, there can be an encounter, a particular experience you had that changed the course of your life, but it's a personal one. So what are some of the non-normative influences in your life and in the lives of others? Studying development is not an easy thing to do, because studying development is studying something in motion. It's a study of a trajectory of somebody that is changing. And one approach is to follow one group over a long period of time, and that is the longitudinal method. Now, in the longitudinal method, the problem is you are going to lose some of the people in your group. The people that volunteer for some of these studies are special. The people that drop out of your study are systematically different from the people that stay in there. Maybe they have trouble in life, maybe they're ill, things of that sort. Cross-sectional studies try to correct some of that, and you can study development today in a cross-sectional study by testing, say, people 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc., years old, all at once. And then you can see the changes from age to age. But the problem with the cross-sectional method is that all these people belong to different cohorts, so that there are biases in there. You don't know if the differences are cohort differences or developmental difference, or to what extent they are. So there is no perfect way to study development, and many researchers combine both in some form of sequential method. That is like the basis of what they're telling you in the text about research. And if you master this, and then you go read the text, it will make more sense. And this is it.